Welcome to our deep dive into the high-stakes and, honestly, pretty contradictory UK property market of late 2025 and early 2026. If you're managing a portfolio or just tracking the macro environment right now, well, you know how confusing the signals are. We've pulled a stack of reports from London Docklands News and Property Matters to decode these bizarre shifts. We're talking everything from a severe house-building slump to a sudden mortgage bonanza and what it actually means for your capital.
Right, because the landscape right now is it's essentially a tale of two markets. Looking at the December 2025 data, we saw modest national growth. UK house prices went up around 2.4% annually, averaging roughly £270,000. But if you look at London,
Which is always its own beast, right? The capital actually slipped backwards by 1%.
yeah,
I mean, the average is still sitting well over £500,000, but it dropped. Meanwhile, you have areas like Wales and Scotland surging ahead by roughly 5%.
exactly. And while rental growth is finally cooling down a bit, tenants are still shelling out nearly £1,400 a month. But the real story here, the major macro drag, is the wealth trap. The Office for National Statistics data shows the UK has a staggering 40% of its household wealth locked up in property.
40%. Compare that to the U.S., where it's only about 20%.
Yeah.
Because so much British capital is trapped in illiquid real estate. We're seeing a severe limitation on consumer spending compared to the U.S., where money remains highly fluid in the stock market.
It fundamentally alters how capital flows through the economy, and it makes the current supply-side crisis even more impactful. I mean, house building in England just hit a 12-year low. We barely saw 30,000 homes completed in the third quarter of 2025.
Which makes the government's target of 1.5 million new homes look completely out of reach. In the 15 months since July 2024, they only managed about 175,000. But the irony here is incredible. You have builders essentially putting down their tools at the exact same moment. Banks are throwing the doors wide open.
Yeah, despite this critically low supply of new builds, lenders are aggressively courting first-time buyers to take on debt. Low deposit mortgages are at an 18-year high. There are over 500 deals now allowing 95% borrowing, up from just 274 in early 2024. Santander is even pushing a 98% mortgage product.
So financing a purchase is remarkably accessible right now, but actually executing the transaction is a total minefield. Property chains are collapsing constantly. Nearly a third of all buyers are getting caught in these broken chains, which eats up an average of £2,127 in wasted survey and solicitor fees.
It's essentially a $2,000 tax on bad luck. And when you consider the average UK deposit is hovering around £59,000, losing that much capital to mere friction is a brutal hit to buyer liquidity. But if you step up into the hyperlocal prime London market, the £1 million plus bracket, the dynamics shift entirely.
Yeah, buyers up there are suddenly holding all the cards. Canary Wharf has firmly entered London's Premier League. Averages there have skyrocketed to £1.33 million, which is well over £1,100 per square foot.
It's commanding premiums that are forcing a real reckoning in older established markets. Traditional old money strongholds like Knightsbridge and Bayswater are taking a massive hit, seeing discounts of over 14% in some cases due to slower sales.
And there's been a 12% rise in million-pound-plus listings overall. So there are nearly 7,000 of these premium properties just sitting on the market. The modern housing stock of E14 is pulling capital right away from the aging inventory of traditional elite postcodes.
Which means high net worth buyers have unprecedented leverage and the time to aggressively negotiate. It really is a landscape of extremes. Lenders are eagerly funding mortgages, yet developers simply aren't building.
Exactly. Everyday movers are bleeding thousands in hidden transaction friction, while wealthy buyers are completely turning the prime London map upside down. It's a lot to navigate for anyone looking for value in this cycle.
It really is, and understanding these undercurrents is absolutely crucial for your long-term planning.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a broader question to ponder for your own forecasting. If a nation's wealth is increasingly locked inside literal bricks and mortar that can't easily be spent or moved, how does that fundamentally change how a society innovates, takes financial risks, and plans for the future compared to a stock-driven economy? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.